Hey everyone, welcome for this first episode of Voices of Support. I'm super pumped to launch the podcast, and I'm actually with Elsa today, who is the first guest. So thanks for joining, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to interview you. It's super nice to have you there. I think, Elsa, I'll let you speak about yourself, but you are working at DJI currently. I think something that you told me also before the interview is that you changed relatively recently, you transitioned career and those kind of things. So I think that those are topics you wanted to touch upon. But yeah, so I will give you the floor. I think the idea is just to start by making a small intro, who you are, where you're coming from, and maybe telling us a bit more about your career in support.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for giving me the floor and also the opportunity to break the ice with this podcast series. So I am Elsa Tranquillo. I am an Italian that relocated a few years ago to the Netherlands. Even though I've been living here for a few years, still struggling with adjusting to the weather and of course missing a pizza and good food. Yeah, just to start a bit nice. So yeah, as you said about like my professional experience, I've been transitioning toward the customer success and customer support because I have a background in sustainability consulting and corporate social responsibility. So actually, when I came to the Netherlands, I had this first job here for an internship. And after the internship end, I was committed to stay here in the Netherlands. So I decided to explore more work possibilities. And I had a chance to start working customer support. I speak fluently English and Italian. So I was quite lucky to have the possibility to support customer from the English market as well as the Italian market. And I would say it was a good choice because apart from the linguistic level, you also need to know the cultural aspect, especially in this type of job where you get close to a lot of people. So some cultural aspect may be similar. So it's really good to have also that type of knowledge. So I've been working in customer support for, 2 years, almost 2 years in May. And
Mhm.
yeah, but of course, every day, as you may know better than me, every day is different in this type of job. So yeah, I've been working mainly with the support for tech products such as drones, photography products,
Mhm.
trying to answer like every type of possible question and every type of problem. But growing up, in this role, I also had the chance to practice with other aspects such as supporting logistic, but also being responsible for training. So collective training, the individual coaching, because for me, the idea of training is not only to give you the knowledge, but also, if possible, to follow you up, to let
Yeah.
you improve in your role. So let's say training 360 degrees, it's not just knowledge transfer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And also, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And if I can ask, because you're touching on training and you know it's something that is also dear to me, because that's
Yeah.
what we do at Smart Hole, but you have seen it as an agent and now you're training also. Like, what is the most difficult that you think? Because I guess there are, I would say, sometimes things coming your way at the customer support team that are, I would say, bugs that you know about or that have been identified in some way. But sometimes I'm expecting that maybe you have some of your customers that are really advanced from a tech perspective and maybe they have some really tough technical question. And how do you approach that from being an agent or and also from training perspective? How did you encounter this kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, of course, because like this type of tech products in general are used both by the end user and also like for professional support. In fact, there is a big variety, of products. So, of course, I would say my perspective is that I always try to be curious, to get to find this as opportunity to get to learn something more. But of course, even if we try to do some constant training, it's impossible to get to know everything. Okay, we are humans in the end. So
Hmm.
when some difficult situation or question happens, and I see that the customer knows more than me because maybe use more frequently the product or blah blah blah, I see like an opportunity, honestly speaking, to learn. Like I prefer to be honest, saying, look, let me ask two colleagues from the technical team or whatever how to solution it, and then I will be back to you. I prefer to not invent things or pretend I have a knowledge that I don't have for, yeah, of course, company reputation, but also I think that customer on the other side, they appreciate the transparency. I think that the point in this type of situation is not only to look for knowledge, but give a clear perspective and overview of the next step to the other person. So for instance, I will back to you on this day around this time or this time framework, let's say within 24 48 working hours. I will
Hmm.
do this contacting this person, and then I will be back to you with this and information. So it's also clear for the other person that you're not going to forget them. So you're not putting up an excuse to hide something, but you are really committed to your work.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think because we have AI everywhere basically right now. Do you think like people from your, I don't know how much you are using AI in your teams right now, but do you think like people, the customer that you have on the phone, on chat, whatever, they value more this transparency and this human contact, or they value the fact that you would have an AI copilot or something that will give you basically this is the answer that you need to provide? Or have you experienced some issues also with AI in your current
Yeah, as to say, in general, I would say that it's big topic. Okay, so generally speaking, of course, AI is useful, and maybe a customer can go there to rely for a quick question answer. But let's say that also noticed that customer prefer to have support. Maybe especially what I noticed for Italian customer is that they really like to talk with someone, and also
Mm-hmm.
customer really appreciate when they feel your attempt to help or the empathy, because they rely on someone that can understand and feel them, something maybe that the AI at this stage is missing.
Yeah, that's interesting, the cultural aspect of things. Yeah, you are Italian. I think I'm coming also from France. It depends a lot where you are in France, but I would also expect a bit something similar. People like to have some kind of direct relationship. But do you also support like UK or US kind of customers on your side? Do you see a big difference with those customers?
Yeah, because I work with several type of customer across Europe, and of course I see the difference. Especially UK people are really polite, when they call, even if they don't know you, maybe personally,
Mm-hmm.
they will. If they're nice, they say like, "Oh, how are you? How is your day?" Instead, that their nationality are more straight to the point, So you really see the difference.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand. Cool. And so maybe just to go back a bit to your experience, like transitioning to customer support, like how how was it basically when you started in this company at DGI? Like how did it look like? How long was the training? Were you matched with a senior agent that was maybe your buddy, or what did this period look like, and what was the most challenging maybe for you to adapt to this new kind of job?
Yeah, of course, I have to say it was difficult at several levels. First of all, because I was starting a completely new job in which I
Mm-hmm.
did not have an experience. So, but it was also positive to remind to myself that we have some transferable skills that does not disappear if you change job. So, especially all the part of soft skill, communication skills, they were really useful to me. So I try, to focus on what I have and what I have to build. And of course, in training, there was a lot of opportunities because I have to thank all the colleagues. They were really super supportive, asking questions, never get bored or being super detailed. What helped also was that some colleagues were helping me, like providing some material, like look at this link, find these resources, may be helpful for you to do this, and that. But I would also say that it's also good to be like open, and be curious, like ask. Don't think like, I don't need this or I don't want to buffer. Of course, with courtesy and not pretending to have immediate support, because people are also busy with their schedule. But it's always
Yeah.
good, especially in the beginning, I was going around to the department, get to know people and say, sorry, but I am from this team and I would like to know, how do you work? How do you do this thing? Because I think that customer support is such a transversal department that of course we cannot know everything, but it's good to know who does what in order to then reassess the case or send the customer to the right department, and also have a bit overview in general how other people work to better support the customer and in the latter stage maximize the satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And because then here it's a lot of by learning, by meeting people, by discussing, by
Yeah.
seeing things happening. Like, were there also a lot of session where you were in front of a slide or something like this in meeting rooms? How did that happen technically?
Yeah, there were of course a lot of training session, like as you say, meeting room, or like time. Maybe at times it's also good to take time to ourselves to read materials or to get familiar, with the system, which was a bit difficult for me because we were using some ticketing system and so on. So it was actually new for me, especially in the beginning when we start a new job.
Yeah.
Everything may be a bit, overwhelming because there are a lot of new things. So it's good also to give time to ourselves, not pretending to remember everything and mastering everything immediately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine. And that's what I mean. That's what I remember also from my time when I was an agent. It was a long time ago now, but I started a 1 month training program basically, and I remember that yeah, it was great. 2 weeks meeting with a lot of people and so on, but in the end, those really theoretical kind of meetings where you see slides and so on.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say that I've learned a lot there. I mean, you learn a few things, but it's
Yeah.
just by doing and by closing tickets that I've actually became an expert in my particular field, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, I'm a bit lucky because I have the experience to be on both sides, receiving training and giving training. And since I start giving training, I try to take an hybrid methodology. It's good to give some context, but it's also good to practice. So maybe, for instance, creating some role playing in which you pretend to be, the customer. And so this is also a safe space to practice. So
Yeah.
what I also suggest is to do this, but also important to make people at ease. So it's important to say we are here to learn. Don't worry if you make mistakes. I generally say it just a bit to break the ice. It's not a tribunal, So
Yeah,
we're
of
not
course.
judging anyone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
understand they feel a bit shy, at times.
Yeah, I can understand, and it can be also, yeah, not overwhelming, but impressive because you're in front of a trainer that has a lot of experience, and you're just coming in. So how do you do that? You do that manually. You prepare the role play, and you do it yourself with the agents, and you try to do it with every single agents that come in.
Yeah, of course, I don't think like forcing someone is like an option for me. Like I don't really like, unless of course it's a one-to-one. So what I generally do is that, yeah, I prepare some slide that is also good. So, I prepare a slide with resources, further link or acronyms list, so people can also keep it like a sort of hard knowledge. So they can go
Hmm.
there with the frequently asked question. But then I also try to involve them and ask questions like, creating some small session in which maybe one, two, three person, if possible, everyone does a different scenario so other people can see. And at the end also, they can also ask questions and I can also ask themselves, how did you feel? And give my feedback, but also feel because it's also important to self-evaluate ourselves, So I want also them to develop this to also then in the latter stage to improve, to understand by themselves which are the area that I need to improve.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Super interesting. Maybe one question that I mean, all companies they have we all have to deal with different process, different way of working, different approach to customer support. Like, and when you join DGI, was there anything that, on top of learning this new job of customer support, that surprised you in the way that some things were done, or some particular issues with customers were addressed? Is there anything that surprised you a little bit in the way you had to handle some of those requests?
Yeah, of course, I appreciated the attention toward the customer in general and also like, the empathy and trying, to assist the customer in the best way possible at also like professional level, but more in focus on some colleagues. I also appreciate their organization. And I think it's also good to see how others are working, especially if you're new, because then there is a transfer or best practice, Of course, as you say, every organization and every individual has his way to organize things. But it's also good, according to my point of view, to be like in line. For instance, what I do in the training or what I share inside the team as best practice is that, of course, everyone maybe is following a certain client or whatever, but it may happen to everyone. We can get all your holidays, sudden sick, blah, blah. Then if someone is not there and there is the need to follow up urgently on the customer, we still need to be ready. So it's good like to leave some internal notes for ourselves with the background or the further case steps, so we avoid mistake or imaging going through 100 tickets. Also what I see is that some customer come back after a long time. So maybe today you remember what happened, tomorrow yes, but after that time you cannot remember anymore. So it's also time saving. Then read 10 tickets and one chat and then go and listen to the recording. You go crazy,
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of things to work on. That remembers my time, because I've done a lot of things. Also, I started as an agent like you. I've done some quality reviews. Then after it was outsourced, then I became also a trainer. I mean, yeah, it's super interesting to see the depth, and maybe that gives me kind of a question coming, because now you transition a bit more to training. You're still doing some agent work, or is it
Yeah, I
like a bit
still
in?
do work, the most complex and a bit more into training or being among the department to help, communication between department and different department and customers. Yeah.
Okay. And then the question is like, how does the next step looks like? Like, is it something that is really clearly defined inside your company? Is it something where you know exactly where you're going, or is it more something that you are building for yourself, depending on what you're interested about? Like, how does this look like in terms of career
Yeah.
development? I would say.
Yeah, of course. Well, at this specific moment, I may say that my contract is coming toward an end of May, not
Mm-hmm.
mid-May, sorry. Unfortunately, there is not possibility to stay. So I'm
Okay.
looking for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this type of job, but it's more B2C. So I would like to transition towards the B business,
Mm-hmm.
especially in software as business environment or customer onboarding. Also, I would like also to get a bit more specialized because B2C is quite nice, different every day, but also quite generic, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
also good to specialize in something and try out something different.
Okay, that's yeah, it's interesting. What do you think is? I mean, you what excites you about B2B and SaaS like the most? Like, is it the different type of customer, the complexity, the project? I mean, the tech behind it. Like, what does it?
Yeah, the great thing about DGI was that I was exposed to some tech, of course, as different level than working strictly with the softwares. But I think that it's like technology always evolve, you know. So it's always opportunity to learn something new and have like lifelong training also on that side. So that's also why I wanted to transition toward like softwares and also B2B because it's a different kind of interaction and also possibly in some cases maybe also more long lasting than, you know, answer a question or solving a problem and then bye bye, you never hear back from the customer basically, or hopefully
Yeah,
if you did the job well, of course.
yeah, I can understand. Cool. Maybe this one is a bit I don't know, almost going deep in in ourselves, but like now you have 2 years of experience in customer support and you have seen training, you have seen different things, you will look for a new opportunity. But what is maybe one thing that you understood after maybe a few months or something, but that you wish we would have told you, like, this is the thing that's going to make a difference in your job today? Like, is there one thing that comes to your mind that you would have liked to know early on, maybe thanks to a manager or thanks to a coworker or something? Like, is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's something more related to soft skill or approach to in general customer, like to be like structured and organized in response. Okay, so do not provide vague response, or also like if you have a contact through phone, then follow up through email because
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding are really easy and this would save you time and also possible conflict. Instead, if after an email you send a follow up, after a call you send a follow up email with all the
Mm-hmm.
steps to be executed and timing and time for a feedback, then everything is clear. And also at an like more like soft approach, I would soft skill, I would say like more than communication skill, approach to customer, empathy, active listening, because at times customer people think that it's just a matter of yes or no. It's not, according to my personal point of view, it's not about saying, customer, you are wrong, I am right. I understand that in educating customer, this is part of the job, but I think it's more to say what I can do for you. How can I assist you? So move a bit forward from you are wrong, I'm right, and vice versa. So this is something I would get to know earlier, yeah, and not learning by doing, because I think would save a lot of time and yeah, possible mistakes.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah, soft skills are important. Yeah, I think. I mean, that's the only thing that you cannot really teach. You can evaluate, see, give tips, and so on, but this is something that is also part of who you are and your personality, and that's something super important, I think. Okay, cool. We're coming close to the end, so maybe just more of a fun question, like, or fun or not actually. But do you have one story of a customer? You don't need to give all the details, name or whatever, but one thing that really surprised you, I think, maybe just to give you a hint. For example, once I had a customer that basically threatened me to come to my company and make it explode. So I had to
That's
to
really
to handle this kind of conversation in the past. So I was wondering, do you have any story like this, or maybe funnier than this? Because this was not the nicest conversation I had to handle. Anything worth sharing?
wow, that's something I was missing because I heard a lot of things, but not this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say, of course, there were a lot of unhappy customers, but I think it happens everywhere. But I would say also, like, one of things that I remember, it was about a customer I was trying to assist with, providing like some remote troubleshooting. Unfortunately, the customer was not able to my steps and guidance. And I had to be honest, I was a bit sad because I see how much commitment was put in the customer, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be like negative feedback or is going to be unhappy customer. Instead, what turned out that the customer, even if didn't succeed in solving the problem by himself, he was still happy because we were trying to help him, and he was trying to complete some step, and he was telling to me I'm not really touch person, so the fact that I was still able to do few things makes me really happy. So you will see, it's also to say that our customers appreciate our effort, even if at times doesn't end up as we want.
Makes sense. Interesting. That's cool. That's great. And maybe that's a good transition actually, yeah, because I think last question from me. What do you want? Like, let's say, I don't know, we have someone that is potentially thinking about transitioning to customer support, or that's gonna start as an agent next week or something. What is the one takeaway that you want people that will hopefully listen to this podcast take away from it? Like, what is the one thing that you want them to take away from this conversation?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know it's a bit, maybe sound like a bit repetitive, but keep an open mindset. Okay. So being proactive, ask for support. If there is something you don't know or you don't know how to handle, don't pretend, oh, I want to show up. I'm the most skilled person here in the room. Ask, because I think it's also, they appreciate, other people will appreciate the proactivity in asking and seeking for help. And then, it's also normal, also be way to normalize mistakes or seek for help. So yeah, I would say being proactive, ask for help if needed, and keep curious and look what's happening around you and how other works, so then you can structure your way through.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I am always looking back to my period as an agent as one of the, funnily enough, as one of the best time of my career, because that's where I basically created the most interesting connection with my coworkers. I mean, I really remember about it as, okay, I had an issue. I was asking to the guy on my right or to the girl on my left, I'm blocked, can you help me? And they were always jumping. We were helping each other. And that's what I liked a lot. And that's also why I wanted to kickstart this podcast, because I want to give back to those people that are on the front lines that are sometimes forgotten about a bit. And I think there is a lot of things that we can do also to make your job and your life easier, and that's what we are trying to do at Smart Hole. And I think that's a bit my mission in a way, if we want to put it like this.
Yeah, I
Even though it
completely agree.
feels a bit cheesy saying it like this, but that's really what motivates me there. Cool. So as you were saying, you will be looking for a new opportunity, new challenge. Where do we find you? Where do we connect with you if we want to talk with you? Like, floor is yours. Where do we chat with you?
Okay, yeah, for online chat, my LinkedIn profile, maybe we can drop the link under the
We'll put
episode.
it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And also you will find the contact. There is my personal email address. So in case you, in my embedded, in the contact section, I'm based in Rotterdam, but so for any meetup or in-person chat, coffee, whatever, feel free to reach out. I'm also able to commute nearby. It's always good opportunity to go around the Netherlands, especially now we are going towards spring, summer, so it's gonna be nice to travel more.
Yeah, it will be cool. Great. I'll make sure to make the notes with all of this, and hopefully it can help. Thanks for your time. Thanks for all
Thank
the
you.
sharing all of this. It's super interesting. I hope we'll make more, and maybe, I don't know, in a few months or in a year or something, we can make even an update option, episode 2 of
Yeah,
Elsa, and see where you are. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for giving me the chance to have you as our first guest, and
thank you.
I hope we'll hear from you soon, and all the best. And
Thanks.
thanks.
Thanks. Was
Cool.
nice to talk to you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye, Elsa. Great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording.